Welcome everyone, I'm Jennifer Moss, the Executive Director of the Ear Research Foundation. Part of the mission of our foundation is to provide research, education, and community service. These sessions are one of the things that we do to help ensure that the public is aware of the various treatment options for ENT diseases. Today, our lecturer will be Dr. Herbert Silverstein, and our topic will be hyperacusis. Thank you so much for joining us, and without further ado, please welcome Dr. Herbert Silverstein.
So today we're going to talk about hyperacusis. How many of you are here with problems with noise? You can't take noise in the restaurants and, okay, that's good. Hyperacusis is a reduced tolerance to normal sounds, and we can measure that actually with a test that's called loudness discomfort level. We put you in a booth and we keep increasing the sound into your ear till it's not comfortable to you. Now, what we call tinnitus retraining therapy, TRT, and they introduce sound into your ear over a long period of time to try to get you used to the high sounds that you can't tolerate. They use a thing called pink noise, and it takes at least 6 months and usually doesn't really work that well. The next type of hypersensitivity is what we call recruitment, and that's a sudden, marked increase in sound occurs when certain noises come. You don't hear it, you may have a little hearing loss, and then all of a sudden you hear a big noise in your ear, and that we call that recruitment. Patients with Meniere's disease have that. Anybody here have Meniere's disease? Noise intolerance in his ear. He couldn't stand any noise. He was miserable, and at that time I said, well, maybe if we put some tissue on your windows, it'll calm things down and you can be better. What happened after that is history, because he was much better, and in fact today he's has no noise intolerance, and each year he has gotten better. So it's since 2009. And now he has absolutely no problem with noise. Get approval, what we call IRB, Institutional Review Board approval from the hospital. And the hospital has approved this study, and it's very important to do that when you're doing any studies on patients. What we do is a hearing test. We examine you. We do a hearing test first, then we do this LDL test to prove that you have hypersensitivity to sound. And then we have this hyperacusis questionnaire. That's a validated questionnaire for patients with hyperacusis, and they fill this out. It's from 1 to 4, how serious it is. 1 is very little, 4 is very serious, and they can answer all these questions, and you can determine.
Okay, my name is Ilona. I've had hyperacusis for many years, possibly since age 2. Actually, my sensory hearing, I have other sensory problems, but my hearing sensitivities was the most debilitating and annoying of my problems, and probably most crippled my life. In high school, I was overwhelmed by noises of the typewriters. There were 40 people in my class, and all the bells ringing when the carriage returned. I remember walking down the street and jumping out of my skin at every car horn, coming awfully close to being hit. I do not drive since I cannot stand all of these road noises. In church and other crowds, I had to sit in the back row so as to limit some of the sounds coming at me from all directions. I never stood for a standing ovation so that my ears were slightly below the sounds of my neighbors applauding. At restaurants, I requested seats far away from the kitchen, main traffic areas, kids, and usually in a corner, so that the waitress could not sneak up behind me and scare me. Soon I quit going to church altogether because it was much easier to watch TV, a sermon on TV, in the semi-quiet of my house. I also had to quit going to concerts, movies, shopping, and dancing. I cannot stand thunder, mowing equipment, fingernails tapping or scraping, certain people's voices, plastic bottles popping, a lot of these things. I had to retreat to the silence of my house. But there was no silence. I could still hear the refrigerator running, and the air conditioner clicking on and off, and blowing, and the birds chirping, and the wind blowing. My girlfriend said, "Just close your eyes, and the traffic will sound like waves rolling on the beach." Well, it does, but I don't want to hear that either. I couldn't even drink my Coke without hearing the bubbles bursting against the can. They say, be careful what you wish for. I wished I was deaf on many occasions, and I envied people who were hard of hearing. After all, they didn't hear all this stuff. I even asked one of my doctors one time when old age hearing loss would set in. Because I'm waiting. All this stuff, sometimes I felt I was going mad. Friends started avoiding me when I snapped at them for making simple noises, and I worried about slipping into isolation because I loved being with people. They just didn't understand. Heck, the doctors didn't understand. How could such excellent hearing not be a good thing, like winning the lottery? You should be grateful, they said. You are lucky. Yeah, right. A friend of mine took me to his hearing aid doctor, who made me some very good earplugs, which enabled me to participate in life. I was resigned to the fact, though, that this would be the best that anyone could ever do for me. After several years, they needed replacement, and the doctor had passed away. I went to several doctors who couldn't believe I didn't want to hear. One actually gave me earplugs that blocked out 15%, and then 25% reduction. Whoopee! Then, in May of this year, I answered an ad in the newspaper for the Silverstein Institute. I would later find out that I had purchased the winning lottery ticket. The response was hopeful, and after the first appointment, wow! Finally, people who understood that this was not only a real problem, but there was a real treatment for it. Because I never dreamed there would be any hope for this crazy condition that no one ever even heard of. And now I have had surgery on both ears. What a difference! Kind of like winning the lottery. I still hear very, very, very well, but noises are not as annoying or startling as they once were before. I have less anxiety, and I am not constantly on guard for noise. It is great. I also sleep better because I don't hear every little sound while I'm sleeping. Mostly my friends and my not-so-friends notice the difference, and I get comments like, "You're calmer. You talk softer. I am sorry that I made that noise, but you didn't flinch like you used to." And my personal favorite, "You don't know how better you are." I'm not sure that's good English. So yes, I am better. And thanks to you, Dr. Silverstein, and your staff. And I'm starting to enjoy shopping, going out with the girls, and for the first time last week, I went dancing and didn't worry about the noise levels or the people yelling. It was so great. I want to thank you so much.
Okay.
You made my life
Good.
so much better. Thank
All
you,
right.
thank you.
Okay, I know. Fantastic. Great story.